Imagine this. You're having a conversation with someone in English. Everything is going well. You introduce yourself. You answer a few simple questions. You even make the other person smile. Then suddenly, they ask one unexpected question. Your mind goes completely blank. Not because you don't know English. Not because you didn't study. But because you can't find the words. Your heart starts beating faster. Your confidence disappears. You smile awkwardly, and the only thing you can say is, "Sorry, my English isn't very good." Has this ever happened to you? If it has, I want you to know something. This happens to millions of English learners around the world. Students, professionals, engineers, doctors, even people who have studied English for 10 or 15 years. And today, we're going to fix it, not by memorizing another 1,000 vocabulary words. Not by studying difficult grammar. Not by learning fancy expressions you'll probably never use. Instead, I'm going to teach you how to keep speaking, even when you don't know the perfect word. Because that's exactly what fluent speakers do. Here's something that might surprise you. Native English speakers forget words too. Have you ever watched an interview where someone says, "What's that word I'm looking for?" Or, "You know, that thing." Or, "I can't remember what it's called." Of course you have. Because forgetting words is completely normal. The difference is, they don't stop talking. They keep the conversation alive. And by the end of today's lesson, you'll know how to do exactly the same thing. So, before we begin, I want you to make one promise to yourself. For the next few minutes, don't worry about making mistakes. Don't worry about sounding perfect. Your only goal today is to communicate. Because communication is much more important than perfection. Now, let me ask you a question. Imagine I ask you, "What did you do last weekend?" Easy, right? Maybe your answer is, "I visited my grandparents." Or, "I stayed home and watched a movie." Simple. Now imagine I ask, "What's something you've always wanted to learn, and why?" Suddenly, your brain starts searching. You know the answer in your own language. But English? The words don't come quickly enough. Why does that happen? Because your brain is trying to complete 4 jobs at the same time. First, it thinks of the idea. Then, it translates the idea. After that, it checks the grammar. Finally, it worries about pronunciation. 4 different jobs. At the same time. Imagine trying to cook dinner, answer phone calls, watch television, and write an email, all at once. You'd probably feel overwhelmed. That's exactly how your brain feels when you try to speak English. Fluent speakers don't do all 4 jobs separately. They practice so much, that many of those steps happen automatically. The good news? Your brain can learn to do the same thing. But first, you need to stop expecting yourself to speak like a dictionary. Let me tell you a short story. A young man moved from Brazil to Canada. He had studied English for nearly 8 years. His grammar was excellent. His vocabulary was huge. He could read novels. He could understand news reports. But when someone invited him to lunch, he became nervous. One day, his coworker asked, "So, what kind of music are you into?" Such a simple question. But his brain froze. Not because he didn't know the word music. He didn't know how to continue the conversation naturally. Later that evening, he realized something important. He had spent years learning English, but almost no time practicing conversations. He knew English, but he didn't know how to use English. That realization changed everything. Instead of memorizing long vocabulary lists, he started describing his day out loud. Every morning, while making breakfast, he spoke to himself. "I'm cutting some bread. I'm making coffee. The weather looks nice today." While driving, he described everything he saw. "The traffic is heavy. The light just turned green. That restaurant looks busy." At first, it felt strange. Maybe even a little embarrassing. But after a few weeks, something amazing happened. His brain stopped translating every sentence. English slowly became part of his daily thinking. Not because he forced himself, but because he used it naturally. That's exactly what I want for you. You don't need to wait until you're surrounded by native speakers. You can create an English-speaking environment wherever you are. Right now. In your own room. Let's try something together. Look around you. Don't say anything yet. Just look. Maybe there's a chair, a phone, a window, a bottle of water. Now, instead of naming the objects, describe them. This chair is comfortable. My phone needs charging. The window is open. The water looks cold. Notice what you're doing. You're not translating. You're creating ideas directly in English. That's one of the biggest secrets to fluency. Now let's make it a little more interesting. Imagine you're holding your phone. Don't just say, "This is my phone." Say, "I use my phone every day to watch videos, answer messages, and learn English." See the difference? One sentence. Then 3. Then 5. That's how conversations grow. Many learners believe they don't know enough vocabulary. But the real problem isn't vocabulary. It's sentence expansion. Imagine someone asks, "Do you like coffee?" Many learners answer, "Yes." Conversation finished. Now listen to this answer. "Yes, I do. I usually drink coffee every morning because it helps me wake up. On weekends, I like trying different coffee shops with my friends." Did that answer use difficult words? No. Did it sound interesting? Absolutely. Fluency isn't about complicated vocabulary. It's about adding more information. Here's a simple trick. Every time someone asks you a question, follow this formula. Answer. Give a reason. Add an example. Share a feeling. Let's practice. Question. What's your favorite season? Don't answer yet. Think about it. Now say something like this. My favorite season is winter because the weather is cool and comfortable. Last year I went on a trip during winter, and I really enjoyed spending time outdoors. It makes me feel relaxed. That's 4 sentences from one simple question. Now imagine doing that with every conversation. People will naturally want to keep talking to you. Another mistake many learners make is believing they must know the perfect word before speaking. Let's test that idea. Imagine you've forgotten the word helmet. Does the conversation stop? No. You simply describe it. It's something people wear on their heads when riding a motorcycle or bicycle to stay safe. You communicated perfectly. Maybe you forgot the word passport. You could say, "It's the document you need when you travel to another country." Again. The conversation continues. That's how fluent speakers survive. Not by knowing every word, but by knowing how to explain ideas. Here's a challenge. For the next week, every time you forget an English word, don't translate it, describe it instead. At first, it might take a few extra seconds. Soon, your brain will become faster. And one day, you'll realize something incredible. You're speaking, without stopping. Now, I want you to imagine something. You're at a coffee shop. A friendly barista smiles and asks, "So, what can I get for you today?" Instead of thinking, "How do I say this correctly?" take a deep breath, smile, and answer naturally. "I'd like a medium latte, please." The barista asks, "Would you like anything to eat?" You don't panic. You simply say, "Not today, thank you." The conversation lasts less than 30 seconds. But do you know what happened? You just had a real conversation in English. Fluency isn't measured by long speeches. It's measured by your ability to communicate naturally in everyday situations. Many learners imagine fluency as standing on a stage, giving a perfect presentation. But real fluency happens in small moments. Ordering coffee. Asking for directions. Talking to a coworker. Introducing yourself. Making a joke. Those small conversations build confidence. And confidence builds fluency. Not the other way around. Think about how children learn. Nobody hands a 5-year-old a grammar book and says, "Before you speak, memorize every verb tense." Instead, children hear language every day. They repeat it. They make mistakes. They get corrected naturally. And little by little, they improve. As adults, we often believe we have to understand everything before we speak. That's backwards. Speaking helps you understand. Waiting to understand everything before speaking only delays your progress. So here's something I want you to remember. Your mouth is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. If you only read English, your reading improves. If you only listen, your listening improves. But if you want to become a confident speaker, you must actually speak. Even if nobody is around. Talk to yourself. Describe your plans. Retell a movie you watched. Explain what happened during your day. Your brain doesn't care whether you're talking to another person or talking to yourself. It only knows that you're practicing. Now let's do another exercise together. I'm going to ask you a question. Don't pause the video. Don't translate. Answer immediately. Ready? What's the first thing you usually do after waking up? Did you answer? Maybe you said, I brush my teeth. That's a good start. But now expand it. I usually brush my teeth first. Then I wash my face, make some coffee, and check my messages before I start working. Notice how one sentence became four? That's exactly how confident speakers sound. Let's try another one. What's your favorite movie? Don't answer with just the title. Tell me why. Who is your favorite character? How many times have you watched it? Would you recommend it to a friend? Keep talking. Keep adding details. Every extra sentence is another step toward fluency. Here's something else that can completely change your speaking. Stop trying to impress people. Many learners think, if I use advanced vocabulary, people will think my English is excellent. But native speakers rarely think like that. Imagine someone says, I was utterly astonished by the culinary experience. Technically, that's correct. But in everyday life, most people would simply say, the food was amazing. Short, clear, natural. Communication always wins over complexity. Now let's practice replacing formal English with natural English. Instead of saying, I am extremely hungry, say, I'm starving. Instead of, I am feeling somewhat tired, say, I'm exhausted. Instead of, I don't understand, say, I'm not sure what you mean. Or, could you explain that again? These small changes make your English sound warmer and more conversational. Now let's imagine another situation. You're meeting someone for the first time. They smile and say, Hi, I'm Emily. How do many learners respond? Hello. My name is Rahul. Nothing wrong with that. But let's make it sound more natural. Hi, I'm Rahul. Nice to meet you. Emily smiles. Nice to meet you too. Where are you from? You answer. I'm from India. I grew up in Maharashtra, and I really enjoy meeting people from different cultures. Emily asks. That's interesting. What do you do? Instead of saying, I'm an engineering student. Expand it. I'm studying information technology, and I also enjoy learning English because I want to communicate confidently with people from around the world. See how naturally the conversation grows. Nobody is asking difficult questions. Nobody expects perfect grammar. They're simply interested in you. And that's another secret. People enjoy talking to people who are interested. So don't only answer questions. Ask them. Imagine Emily tells you she loves traveling. Instead of saying, okay, ask, what's your favorite country you visited? Or, if you could visit one place again, where would you go? Now the conversation becomes balanced. Fluent speakers don't just talk well. They ask good questions. Here's another exercise. I'll give you a statement. You ask me a follow-up question. Ready? I started learning English 2 years ago. What would you ask? Maybe. What made you decide to learn English? Excellent. Another one. I just came back from Japan. What would you ask? How was your trip? What was your favorite place? What food did you enjoy the most? Do you see what's happening? You don't need advanced grammar to have interesting conversations. You need curiosity. Curiosity keeps conversations alive. Now let's talk about one of the biggest fears English learners have. Making mistakes. Imagine you're talking to someone and you accidentally say, he go to work yesterday. Oops. Wrong grammar. Should you stop? No. Simply correct yourself. He went to work yesterday. And continue. That's exactly what native speakers do. Have you ever heard someone say, I mean. I saw him yesterday. It happens all the time. Nobody laughs. Nobody ends the conversation. They simply continue. Your mistakes are not roadblocks. They're speed bumps. Slow down for a moment, then keep moving. The more you stop worrying about mistakes, the more naturally you'll speak. There's another habit I want you to build. Celebrate small victories. Did you order food in English today? Celebrate. Did you answer one question without translating? Celebrate. Did you speak for 1 full minute without stopping? Celebrate. Fluency isn't built in giant leaps. It's built in hundreds of tiny victories that most people ignore. Imagine climbing a mountain. You don't reach the top with one giant jump. You take one step, then another, then another. Eventually, you look back and realize how far you've come. Learning English works exactly the same way. And here's something beautiful. One day, without warning, you'll answer a question in English, and only afterward realize, I didn't translate that. That moment feels magical. Not because you suddenly became fluent overnight, but because all those small daily practices quietly changed your brain. And when that day comes, you'll smile. Because you'll remember this lesson. And you'll realize, fluency was never about being perfect. It was about refusing to give up. There's one habit that almost every confident English speaker has, and most learners never notice it. They don't try to answer immediately. They take a small pause. Not because they don't know English, but because they're organizing their thoughts. Think about interviews you've watched. When someone is asked an important question, do they answer instantly? Usually not. They smile. They take a breath. Sometimes they even say, that's an interesting question. Or, I've never really thought about that before. Those few seconds aren't a sign of weakness. They're a sign of confidence. So the next time someone asks you something unexpected, don't panic. Smile. Take a breath. Then begin. A calm speaker always sounds more fluent than a rushed speaker. Now, let's imagine another situation. You're sitting in a job interview. The interviewer smiles and says, so, tell me about yourself. This is one of the most common questions in English. And it's also one of the questions learners fear the most. Why? Because they try to memorize the perfect answer. But conversations aren't scripts. They're ideas. Instead of memorizing, build your answer naturally. Start with who you are. My name is Rahul, and I'm currently studying information technology. Then explain what you're interested in. I enjoy learning new technologies, improving my English, and working on creative projects. Then talk about your goal. My goal is to become a skilled software engineer while improving my communication skills so I can work with people from around the world. Simple. Honest. Natural. No complicated words. No impossible grammar. Just your story. Now imagine the interviewer asks, why do you want to improve your English? Many learners answer, for my career. That's fine. But let's make it more memorable. I want to improve my English because it's a global language. It helps me connect with people from different countries, learn from experts around the world, and create better opportunities for my future. Notice something? The vocabulary is still simple. The difference is, you're giving complete thoughts instead of short answers. Now let's practice something that native speakers do all the time. They paint pictures with their words. Imagine I ask, describe your hometown. A learner might say, it's beautiful. A fluent speaker might say, my hometown is surrounded by green fields and quiet roads. In the mornings, the air feels fresh, and in the evenings, people gather outside to chat with their neighbors. It's peaceful, and that's one of the things I love most about it. Can you picture it? That's the goal. Help people see what you're talking about. The more visual your language becomes, the more interesting your conversations become. Here's another challenge. Describe your bedroom. Not in one sentence. In 5. Talk about the colors. The furniture. The things on your desk. The window. The lighting. The atmosphere. Don't worry about using difficult words. Simple descriptions are enough. Now, let's play a little game. I'll give you one word. You have to build a short story around it. The word is rain. Maybe you say, Yesterday it rained all afternoon. I stayed at home, made a cup of tea, and watched my favorite movie. Even though the weather was bad, I really enjoyed the relaxing day. Perfect. Now another word. Birthday. My last birthday was special because my friends surprised me with a cake. We went out for dinner, took lots of pictures, and laughed the whole evening. See what's happening? One word becomes a complete story. And stories are powerful. People remember stories far more than isolated facts. That's why great speakers often tell small stories instead of giving short answers. Now let's talk about listening. Many learners think speaking is the most important skill. Actually, listening is just as important. Because good conversations aren't speeches. They're exchanges. Imagine someone says, "I've been learning guitar recently." Instead of changing the subject, show interest. Ask, "What inspired you to start?" Or, "What's the first song you learned?" These questions make people feel heard. And when people feel heard, they enjoy talking to you. This isn't just an English skill. It's a life skill. Now I'd like you to do something with me. Close your eyes for just a moment. Imagine yourself 6 months from today. You're walking into a room. Someone starts talking to you in English. This time, you don't panic. You smile. You answer naturally. You ask questions. You laugh. The conversation continues for 10 minutes. Then 20. When it's over, you don't think, "I made 3 grammar mistakes." Instead, you think, "I actually had a conversation." That's the future you're working toward. Not perfection. Communication. Remember, fluency isn't the absence of mistakes. It's the ability to keep going despite them. Every fluent speaker has made thousands of mistakes. The only difference is, they didn't quit after making them. So here's your challenge for tomorrow morning. The moment you wake up, don't think in your native language. Spend just 5 minutes thinking only in English. As you get out of bed, say, "Good morning. I'm feeling a little sleepy. I need to brush my teeth. I'm going to make breakfast." Then continue while you're eating. "This coffee smells great. I have a busy day today. I'm looking forward to learning something new." It doesn't matter if your sentences are simple. What matters is that they're in English. Those 5 minutes may seem small, but over a month, they become hours of thinking practice. Over a year, they become a completely different way of using your brain. And that's where real fluency begins. There's another habit that quietly destroys confidence. Comparison. Maybe you've done this before. You watch someone on YouTube speaking perfect English. Their pronunciation sounds effortless. Their vocabulary is impressive. They speak without stopping. And within a few seconds, a thought appears in your mind. "I'll never sound like that." The problem isn't the video. The problem is the comparison. What you don't see is how many years they spent practicing. You don't see the awkward conversations. You don't hear the mistakes they made. You don't know how many times they felt embarrassed before becoming confident. You're comparing your beginning to someone else's middle or even their finish line. Instead, compare yourself to the person you were last month. Can you understand more English now? Can you speak for a little longer? Do you hesitate less often? If the answer is yes, you're already improving. Progress is the only competition that matters. Now let me share something that changed the way I think about learning languages. Imagine 2 students. The first student studies English for 3 hours every Sunday. The second student studies for 20 minutes every day. Who do you think improves faster? Most people assume it's the first student because 3 hours sounds like more effort. But in reality, the second student usually wins. Why? Because the brain loves consistency. Every day, you're reminding your mind. English is important. Those daily repetitions strengthen your memory. It's like watering a plant. You don't pour an entire bucket of water on it once a month. You give it a little water every day. Language learning works exactly the same way. Now let's practice something that native speakers do naturally. They connect ideas. Instead of speaking in short, disconnected sentences, they use linking words. Listen to this. I woke up late. I missed the bus. I arrived late at work. It's understandable. But now listen again. I woke up late, so I missed the bus. As a result, I arrived late at work. The story suddenly flows. Here are a few simple linking words that instantly make your English sound smoother. Because. I stayed home because it was raining. So. I was tired, so I went to bed early. But. I wanted to go outside, but it started raining. Then. I finished my homework, then I watched a movie. After that. We had dinner. After that, we went for a walk. You don't need dozens of connectors. Master these simple ones first. They'll make your conversations feel much more natural. Now let's talk about pronunciation. Many learners believe they need a perfect American accent. Let me ask you something. If someone speaks clearly, uses simple words, and communicates confidently, does their accent really matter? Not much. People care far more about clarity than perfection. Think about the English speakers you've met from different countries. Some have British accents. Some have American accents. Some have Australian accents. Some have Indian accents. Some have Nigerian accents. Some have Filipino accents. Yet they all communicate successfully. The goal isn't to erase your identity. The goal is to be understood. That's why you should focus on speaking clearly instead of speaking perfectly. Slow down. Open your mouth properly. Finish your words. Use natural pauses. Those habits improve communication much more than trying to imitate every sound perfectly. Now I'd like you to repeat after me. Don't worry if you're alone. In fact, it's even better if you're alone. Say. Every day, my English becomes a little stronger. Again. Every conversation teaches me something new. One more time. I don't need perfect English to communicate confidently. How did that feel? Simple, right? These aren't just positive sentences. They're reminders. Because confidence isn't something that suddenly appears one morning. It's something you build. Sentence by sentence, conversation by conversation. Let's do one more speaking exercise together. I'll ask you a question. This time, I want you to answer for a full minute. Don't stop. Ready? If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go and why? Start speaking. Don't worry if you repeat yourself. Don't worry if you pause. Just keep talking. If you don't know a word, describe it. If you forget an idea, start another one. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is movement. Think of speaking English like riding a bicycle. When you first learned to ride, did you wait until you knew everything about balance? No. You got on the bicycle. You wobbled. Maybe you fell. Then you got back up. Speaking English is exactly the same. The only way to become comfortable speaking, is by speaking. There's no shortcut. No secret vocabulary list. No magical grammar book. Only practice. Consistent, patient, daily practice. Now imagine your future self looking back at today. What advice do you think that future version of you would give? Probably something like this. Stop waiting until you're perfect. Start speaking now. Those mistakes you're afraid of today will become the stories you laugh about tomorrow. And they're right. Because every fluent English speaker was once a beginner. Every confident speaker once struggled to introduce themselves. Every person you admire once searched for simple words. Just like you do now. The difference is, they kept going. And so will you. Before we finish, I want to leave you with one final challenge. Starting today, replace one habit. Instead of scrolling through social media for 10 extra minutes, use those 10 minutes to speak English. Describe your room. Talk about your plans. Retell your favorite movie. Explain something you've learned. Pretend you're teaching a friend. It doesn't matter what you talk about. It matters that you speak. Because every sentence you say, is another brick in the foundation of your fluency. One day, someone will ask you a question in English. You'll answer without translating. You'll smile without realizing it. And only later, you'll think, wow, I actually spoke English naturally. That moment won't happen because of luck. It won't happen overnight. It will happen because of every small practice session you refuse to skip. Because of every mistake you learned from. Because of every conversation you were brave enough to start. So from this moment on, don't say, I'm not fluent yet. Instead say, I'm becoming more fluent every single day. Those two sentences may sound similar, but they create completely different mindsets. One focuses on what's missing. The other focuses on what's growing. And growth is exactly what this journey is about. Thank you for spending this time with me. If today's lesson helped you think differently about English, don't let it end here. Practice something you learned today right now. Speak out loud, even if it's only for 1 minute. Tomorrow, make it 2. Then 3. Keep showing up for yourself. Remember this. You don't become fluent by knowing more English. You become fluent by using more English. Keep speaking. Keep learning. Keep believing in yourself. And I'll see you in the next lesson. Until then, take care, keep practicing, and never stop speaking English.